Welcome to another episode of What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? We really tried to switch up genres here. So last week, you heard all about historical fiction and you heard about women's fiction. Well, that's not what we're doing today. We got somebody different. You met David Seaburn last year, and his book was just coming out when you heard him. And so now we're just so glad to have him back. Let me tell you just a little bit about him. He's the author of not one, not two, but 9 novels, which I am super impressed by. And as I said, his latest came out in December, Give Me Shelter. Welcome back, David.
Thanks, Karen. Good to see you.
It's really glad to have you.
Yeah, great.
So since we last spoke,
yes.
Well, you know what? Even if we get to what have you been reading, tell us a little bit about what is in your to-read pile. What are you looking forward to reading?
There are actually 2 books that aren't quite out yet that I'm really looking forward to reading. The first one is Jesmyn Ward's new novel will be coming out in September. And I think I don't think there's anybody much better than her. She did Salvage the Bones and Sing Unburied Sing, and has won several national book awards. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of a reimagining of American slavery, and it sounds like it'll be really fascinating. So I'm looking forward to that and have pre-ordered that one. And the other one is The Skin and Its Girl, and it's by Sarah Cipher. And it's one of the watch for books on several sites. And the reason I'm really interested in this story is because about 12 years ago, before she was writing fictions, before she got her MFA, Sarah was doing editing. I hired her to edit my book. Oh, geez, now I'm blocking on it. My Charlie No Face, which came out about 12 years ago. And we just had a great time. And so we stayed connected in various ways since then. And I've watched her progress. And now she's written a book that really sounds like it's being waited for. So it's about a gay Palestinian American woman, kind of how she pieces together the saga of her great aunt and the secrets that she held, and how that affects sexual identity and lineage and exile and a lot of different things. So it sounds like a substantive book, to say the least. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that.
That sounds good. And What have you read? I know you've been so busy with your book launch and all of that, but have you had a chance to read anything that you could recommend to our audience?
Yeah, some old and some newer. The book that I just, before the one I'm reading right now, the book that I finished was Hamnet, which came out a few years ago by Maggie O'Farrell. And as you know, this is the story. Hamnet was the son of William Shakespeare. So this is the fictionalized story, really more about his wife and his family and the death of the son and the influence it had on his play Hamlet. So she's a fabulous writer, and it was just a terrific book. The last several pages really were powerful.
Oh, that sounds awesome. I am a Shakespeare nut.
Well, you like this.
So that one sounds like I would really enjoy that. You were going to say yet another one.
I actually have 4 to recommend.
Oh boy.
This is an old one. I'd never read The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. So I finally read that. And, it has it's really it's so autobiographical that it has a successful ending in the book, but of course in real life it doesn't have a successful ending. But it's really has a Catcher in the Rye kind of feel, and I really enjoyed reading that. Another is Liberation. It's George Saunders' new collection of short stories, which I'm reading a story and then reading a novel, and reading a story and reading a novel. But he is amazingly creative. Anytime I read any of his things, I feel like, boy, you can probably do anything, because he's he just expands the limits of what you could do whenever you're writing fiction. And actually, the book I'm reading right now is Whereabouts by Jhumpa Lahiri, and it's her writing is so clean. It's very, very impressive. But it's about a young woman, never know her name, but her narrative of kind of her day-to-day life and her struggle to kind of fit or not fit. So I'm enjoying that one too.
Wow, excellent,
Yeah.
excellent. My son, I interviewed my son a couple of weeks ago, and he's a very literary writer and a literary reader.
Uh-huh.
And so you two would get along. You two, he, he would be interested in what you're reading, and you'd be interested in what he's reading. So, so last time we spoke, Give Me Shelter was on it wasn't birthed yet, but I mean it was coming. The publication date was coming. Do you have a handy copy that you
Yep.
could show?
Yes.
Look at this great cover. Just hold it up with this little, isn't that nice? That's a great cover. So remind our audience what the premise of this book is.
Give Me Shelter, I wrote at a time whenever, or started writing at a time whenever COVID was really pretty massive. And I thought a lot of people would be writing about that. And I decided I did not want to write about that. But I wanted to write about something, another period of time that had this cloud hanging over your head feeling. And I thought back to my own upbringing, and I remember the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. Whenever I was 11, turning 12 that October and November, and how frightening it was for me. So that kicked off the story, and it's a very coming of age story. These two teenage boys, one is just left to go to college, and the 12-year-old is home struggling with the missile crisis, and are all going through these changes you go through at that time in their life. And the troubled part is that their parents died about 9 years earlier, whenever they were really young, and no one has ever explained exactly what happened.
Hmm.
So there's a gradual unfolding of that, and there's lots of other interesting and funny characters, each of whom are kind of seeking safe haven or seeking some shelter for themselves in this time of scariness, nationally, internationally, and personally as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, wow, that sounds cool. So you said that you recently had a launch party that had been delayed by the weather, and so you recently had one. How does that work? What did that feel like? Who were you talking to?
It's really neat because I do a lot of teaching writing at a place called Writers and Books, and one of the things they do is they have a series of authors who will come in, present, do a reading, and they tape it, and it's done on site and all that kind of thing. This was very cool because it was in person, so I don't know how many. I had about 30 people in person, but they zoomed it as well. So I had another 10 or 15 people on Zoom, and had a list of who was there. And
Good.
there's some old classmates and some other people who came in for it. And so the reading, I enjoy doing readings, and comfortable with that. I did 4 short segments and then threw it open for questions, and questions lasted probably a half an hour or so.
Hmm.
And then the book copies were available for anybody who wanted them. And I had water and little cookies that had the cover of the book imprinted on it. So they were really neat that people could take home with them. But yeah, it was disappointing not to have it on the 15th, because that December 15th, because that's when the book came out. But we lucked out with the weather in February in Rochester, and had a very nice time last night.
That's very cool. Little cookies with the
Yeah.
picture of the book on it.
Yep. There's a wonderful baker near us, and she just does a fabulous job.
That is fabulous. We share Rochester links.
Yeah.
So I have to look her up. You'll have to tell me who she
Yeah. Yeah.
is. Yeah. So, one of the things, I mean, here you are, this prolific writer. You've been writing for a long time. And marketing, for so many of us, marketing is a struggle. And trying to fit it in with life and the writing life. And so how do you approach marketing? How do you think about it? How do you approach it? How do you fit it in? How do you decide how much to spend? Tell us about because
My
we have lots of writers who watch
Yeah.
this show.
my first, when you said how do you approach the first thing that came through my mind was with dread, because I'm not really a fan of marketing. So it's a tough task for me. Our publisher, Black Rose, does some, but a limited amount, I think, of marketing for us whenever we publish our books. I have a website that's accessible and people can order books through that. I do a lot of promotion, designing things through Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and I have a Google presence that I try and amplify whenever a new book is coming out. I try really early in the 6 months before the book's coming out to try and get as many reviewers as possible so I can get some people interested. I will publicize the reviews and urge people to pre-order the book. I really think that doing as much as you can ahead of time really helps, so that whenever the launch comes, people already know about your book. It isn't like you're just starting. It's like a lot of people are aware of it. I go through Readsy and Goodreads and NetGalley and post there. And Readsy, you can enter your book and you can upvote it. You get people to vote for your book. And if enough votes come in, then they feature your book, which is really nice. And
Yeah.
Goodreads, everybody knows all about Goodreads. And to get a review on Goodreads is really means a lot of attention. I got a very good review there. NetGalley is really for librarians and booksellers and that sort of thing. Get you out there, in a different way. I've used those marketing sites that all of us get sent. The JD Marketing, Tweet My Book was another one. Hello Books is another one where you can they'll design something for you, and then they, for X period of time, for X amount of money, will publicize it through Instagram and Twitter and a variety of different platforms. So I do those. I really work hard to get reader reviews because I think that that can make a real difference. And the better your score is on Amazon, and the better the reviews are, the more people take you seriously. I do interviews like this. Have done several of those. I've used BookBub. Maybe you've used that too. Yeah, you can go on and design your own ad and put a budget in, and then they market it, and you go from there. I do readings, although quite actually with COVID, much fewer readings, and
Right.
in the aftermath, I found that some of the groups that I had often read to weren't assembling anymore. And the other thing I do, which really doesn't, it helps maybe later get some recognition, is I enter a lot of book contests, and my books have and I'm just like yours, I'm sure, have garnered a number of awards over the last few years. So that's been nice, and you can publicize that, and then people kind of pay attention to you too. Those are the main things that I've been doing.
It's a pretty good list.
Yeah.
Do you have like a spreadsheet or something that you keep track of what you're doing?
Don't I wish. I'm a list maker, and I per book I keep all the things that I need to keep related to this in the file. And I don't do spreadsheet or anything like that, which I should do, but I have my own disorganized organization that works plenty well.
That works for you.
Yeah.
That sounds great. That sounds great. So if people want to be in touch with you, because you mentioned so many different social media sites where you hang out, if somebody wanted to find out more, not only about Give Me Shelter, but your previous books, I didn't even ask you, do you have something new that's in the works?
Oh yeah. It's called Until It Was Gone. And I'm about 130 pages into that. And that's it's going to hit on a bunch of different things. There will be some things about COVID. There will be some things about abortion. There will be, a marital breakup. There will be a lot of kind of social things that are affecting the people in this book. And secrecy was always a part of what I write, and I think that ends up being a part of any kind of character-driven writing.
There are always secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So if they want to follow you, know when your new book is coming out, get you to come speak about Give Me Shelter or any of those things, what are the best ways for our audience to find you?
Well, to look at my other books, the best is to go to my website, which is davidbseaburn.com and www, of course. Friending me on Facebook. I use Facebook a lot for announcing about my work. Instagram too is the other place um, to find me. I personally am not using Twitter right now. I have my own personal reasons for not using Twitter, but a lot goes out on Twitter. But those two platforms would be the best way to reach out to me.
Great. Thank you so much, David. It's so nice seeing you again. And thank all of you for watching us. I hope I will see you next week on What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? Until then.